what we will be able to find and what will come out of this particular inspection, given that it has taken some time for the operation to begin. But not only that, people have also started closing down their shops, and it seems as though the element of surprise has really disappeared following the delays of what we saw happening this morning. So this is the situation right now. We are walking inside of the wholesaler. This is the Devland Cash and Carry with the MNC, as well as other officials and those responsible and the owners of this particular place. There are police walking around, JMPD officials also walking around doing inspections, and it would seem as though it's business as usual. I am seeing right in front of me what looks like toilet paper and other goods being moved from one spot to another. I'm seeing maize meal being one of those things. Sanitary pads are also some of those things. Golden Cloud cake mix is also one of those things. It's unclear as to whether these items are being purchased or being moved away from the raid that is supposedly taking place right now as we speak. So it all remains to be seen what exactly will transpire and what we will indeed be able to capture from this raid that is taking place right now.
Malente Mtetwa, thanks so much. And that's our reporter accompanying their group of people who are with the MMC for Public Safety, Dr. Mgini Chwaku. And as Mbali said, this is not a raid on spaza shops, but on wholesalers. Devland Cash and Carry is where they're at. And I'm just curious, why are people closing their shops if they have nothing to hide? If everything is above board, why are you closing your shop? Well, that's where we have to leave it, unfortunately. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, for engaging us, and also to the production team. It's 1 o'clock. Here's Mudupi Makhalimele with your news.
Thank you very much, SK. The top stories this hour. Parliament advised against discussing the Bella Act, and Soweto residents search for a rape and murder suspect. A very good afternoon. Parliament's Legal Services Unit says the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. President Cyril Ramaphosa had signed the Bella Bill into law, but suspended certain sections related to language and admission policies for 3 months to allow further consultations. The Basic Education Portfolio Committee in Parliament was set to discuss the 2 relevant clauses further, but decided not to proceed following legal advice. Committee Chairperson Joy Maimela.
The legal team advised us that in terms of the law, the President has not referred the Act back to Parliament, so it will be something else for Parliament to engage on a matter that they've concluded on, because Parliament's work is done in terms of the Act. The Parliament had ascended the Act for the President's signature, for the President's consideration and signature. As a result, they believed that it would not be prudent for us to discuss the issue. As a result, we've removed the item from the agenda, and that was legal advice, and we heeded to that advice.
Police have been deployed to Orlando East in Soweto as residents continue their search for a man suspected of raping and strangling a 5-year-old to death. The suspect, who is a foreign national, is known in the community. The locals have been going from house to house searching for him. Residents say the child's body was found inside the suspect's shack. One of the residents, Lufuno Mokotla.
This guy cannot come all the way and do such things to our community. Where our kids, where is it that our kids are supposed to play if they're not safe, even just here by our gates? Okay. Because this person is a person that is well known. This guy plays with our kids soccer here every day. So nothing could have been suspicious that the child maybe actually thought that he's going to do something to him. Okay, the victim's family, they're not taking it and like they're not okay. They're not okay at the moment. They're not okay, to be honest.
Joburg Mayor Dada Morero is expected to meet former Mayor Kabelo Kwamanda today following Kwamanda's arrest last week. Kwamanda appeared in the Protea Magistrates Court on Friday together with his co-accused Mduduzi Zonde. They are charged with fraud amounting to 12,000 rand and were both released on 2,000 rand bail. Their case has been postponed to the 3rd of December. Kwamanda is the current Community Development MMC in the city. Lerato Makula has more.
Joburg Mayor Dada Morero says he will be meeting Kwamanda to get a report from him. Kwamanda was arrested for his alleged involvement in a fraudulent funeral policy scheme. It is alleged that through his Itembalama Africa company, he conned Soweto's residents of money they had paid monthly for funeral insurance. There have been calls from various political parties in Joburg for Morero to remove Kwamanda from all his executive roles in the city. Morero says the developments deserve to be handled with sense of urgency to ensure that it does not impact on the service delivery. Lerato Makula, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Over 50 houses have been affected by floods at Mission Vale in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. This as disruptive rain continues to cause havoc in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. Mission Vale resident Jubam Gita says it started flooding early this morning.
The water came in quickly. Our bed is wet. We cannot sleep on it. Everything in the house is submerged in water. Our wardrobe, clothes, everything. We only left with the clothes that we have on now.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in Kazan, Russia, where he is leading South Africa's delegation at the BRICS summit. It's themed Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security. Ramaphosa is also set to have a meeting with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. Kaeli Kumalo has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to share priorities of the 7th administration with his Russian counterpart, President Vladimir Putin. BRICS plays a key role in a multipolar world, championing multilateralism, mutually beneficial cooperation, and sustainable development. Ramaphosa will hold a number of bilateral meetings with leaders attending the BRICS summit. The president will attend the welcoming ceremony for heads of delegations of BRICS states, invited countries, and international organizations. The leaders of Brazil, China, Ethiopia, India, Iran, Russia, South Africa, and the UAE will meet for the first time since new members joined the bloc in Johannesburg last year. Kaeli Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The top story, Parliament's Legal Services Unit says the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. Up next is The Full Circle. For SAFM News, Kimudupima Khalemel.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature will host public hearings on Older Persons Amendment Bill 2002 on the 23 October 2024 in Ngakamudiri Molema District at Moshana Community Hall in Zeerost, in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Goedgevonden Community Hall, Ventersdorp, JB Max Local Municipality, in Dr. Ruth Sogomuti Mompati at Dipudi Community Hall, Dipudi Village, Kagisano Molopo Local Municipality, and in Bojanala District at Kraalhoek Community Hall, Kraalhoek, Moses Kotana Local Municipality. All hearings start at 10.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
kushintsha andisoze ndiname ngoba impilo imbethile ndisakwazi ukuphefumula ndizohlala ndisamba from the morning to the night I'll be strong in my way of life every dusk and every dawn till I make it all stay on aye, oh yeah, 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 aye, oh yeah.
It is Monewa coming through with Andisoze Ndingame. That is the name of the song, the title of the song, Andisoze Ndingame. We actually played it on Friday ahead of our conversation with her for full access. And it is part and parcel of a collection of music that she's been working on as an independent artist, as she let us know. And so she's got a file of music right now that she's still kind of pondering, whether to release it, and if she releases it, when to release it, and in what kind of format, be it a full album or an EP. But for the moment, we get to enjoy this beautiful new single from her, which speaks a lot of what she's had to overcome in recent years and reclaiming her power and her identity, both personally as well as professionally. That is how we kick off the show today. I hope that you've had a great day thus far. And holding steady. We've got a lot of show coming up your way. We are going to have a conversation looking into Ponzi and pyramid schemes in South Africa, and perhaps some of the things that you should be on the lookout for when it comes to such. And of course, there's been a rise in other schemes, other financial schemes in the country, and perhaps we'll touch on what those are with our first guest today. As part of that conversation, in fact, I'd love to know from you if you've ever fallen victim to a pyramid scheme, or perhaps you've ever fallen victim to a scam, or you know someone who's fallen victim to the scam, and what were the mechanics of the scam? You know, what was the hook that enticed you or enticed your friend or your family member? Ultimately, we're just sharing, and of course, you don't have to disclose your name or anything of the sort. And the other thing that I would also like to find out from you is, if you've not fallen victim to one, have you perhaps been involved or been approached by scammers pretending to be an entity or pretending to be somebody to try and entice you? To try and entice you to part with your money, because there's so many different scams now. There's people using celebrity likeness. I know on Facebook, there's somebody that's been purporting to be myself, Somizi, and a bunch of other people. And we've had to put disclaimers on our social media pages that are verified to let people know that we don't have Facebook accounts. So if somebody comes to Facebook and says, and you have a look at the pictures and they look just like the ones on my Instagram, they're just grabbing pictures from my Instagram and putting them out on Facebook and pretending to be me and asking you for your hard-earned money. So we'd love to hear from you, as we have that conversation. We're also going to be touching base with the Pride of Africa, Joburg Pride. It is Pride Month, and Joburg Pride is celebrating 35 years. So we'll catch up with the folks there and find out more about all things around the LGBTQI plus community and some of the advancements that have been made by movements such as Johannesburg Pride over the last 35 years, and of course some of the challenges that still stand in the way. On the other side of two, It's Tuesday. Health and wellness issues are coming through, and we're continuing with our theme around Cancer Month. There's been a groundbreaking study led by researchers at the Wits University that's unveiled crucial genetic risk factors for prostate cancer amongst African men. And they'll tell us more about that on the other side of 2 o'clock. It's just gone 1:15 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM, having the conversations that move us.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
My first guest is Roy Retief, Head of Operations at the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service. We've seen, obviously, the headline that is making the news over the weekend is the case of former Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Ngwamanda, who was released on bail after voluntarily surrendering himself to the police. And he stands accused of fraud charges that are related to a funeral policies that he sold in Soweto through a company of his, Itemba Lami Africa, in 2011, and there's been customers that are claiming that he could not be located, and the company could not be located in order for them to claim their benefits. We've also seen earlier on in the year, in June, it was reported that there were claims against a failed pyramid scheme known as Mirror Trading International, which grew to over 1.6 billion rand with over 8,000 proven creditors as of the end of April. And this, the Mirror Trading International estate was around 637 million that they had in their account. There's been legal action that's pending in over a dozen countries to try and claw back some of those withdrawals from people who profited from the scheme. But so we thought we'd invite Roy to come through and join us and have a conversation around Ponzi and pyramid schemes and all sorts of other schemes that are floating around, particularly in South Africa right now. How are you doing this afternoon, Roy?
Well, thanks, Bridget. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners as well.
Thank you so much for making the time. And I think maybe at the beginning, because we can never have enough education, no matter how elementary it is, can we get an understanding in as far as the difference between a Ponzi and a pyramid scheme, if there's any kind of distinction at all?
Yes, Bridget, there certainly is. It's a very subtle difference, but if I could sort of start off with a pyramid scheme and trying to keep it to a very simple concept. But pyramid schemes are generally some sort of membership scheme, and participants are invited to join the scheme, and there's generally a amount that they've got to pay to join the scheme. What then follows is that they've got to recruit additional people to join the scheme. So, for example, if I join the scheme, I might have to pay 1,000 rand, and then I need to recruit, let's say, 2 other people into the scheme, and they would each pay 1,000 rand each, and I would get a portion of their payment into the scheme, and then obviously the guys who recruited me would get a percentage of that as well. And then those 2 people that I've recruited would then be expected to recruit 2 people each on their part, and everybody pays their 1,000 rand, and everybody gets a percentage of what the new joiners are paying. The challenge with these schemes is that they're reliant on new members joining, and as soon as you start getting more current members than you've got new joiners coming in, obviously there's less money coming into the scheme, and the people aren't getting their money out, and this is typically when they collapse. A Ponzi scheme, on the other hand, again, very simplistically, and as you alluded to in your introduction, these things can become incredibly complex, but on a very simple basis is when people are typically invited to join an investment scheme, for example. So what I would do is somebody approaches me and said, I've got this most incredible investment, for you to join in and get the returns, we need an investment of, let's say, 5,000 rand from you. and then you will join the scheme and you will start getting returns on your investment. Now, the way the scheme basically works is every new joiner's investment then gets used to pay out to the people that joined before. So there isn't that element of having to recruit people into the scheme, but generally you find there's word of mouth, and I might refer you to this investment scheme, and so it carries on. But the main distinction is there's not that expectation that you've got to recruit new members to the scheme as you would in the case of a pyramid scheme.
Got you. I don't want us to be interrupted by an ad break, so perhaps let's take our ad break now, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation. But our lines are also open on 061-410-4107. That is our WhatsApp line.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
Namibia and Seychelles both want their presence felt when they meet at 12 midday, while Mzansi's Banyana Banyana confront neighbors Eswatini at 3 p.m. This is the doubleheader of the Hollywood Bets Kosafa Women's Championship. Catch both matches on Friday, 25 October, live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
75 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could be your ticket to the big millions this Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 15 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 59 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or of course cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for the USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, we are having a conversation looking into Ponzi and pyramid schemes in South Africa, and perhaps we'll touch base also in just some other general, smaller scheme trends, scam trends that we're seeing emerge. And we are in conversation with Roy Retief, who's the head of operations, Southern African Fraud Prevention Services. And of course, they always keep their eye on what is happening in as far as fraudulent activity and trends. And now that we know the distinction between the Ponzi and the pyramid scheme, Roy, let me find out, what makes these so, because we have conversations, right, around Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, scams, and all kinds of things, and we consistently have these conversations in private, on radio, high-profile cases, and yet still we always fall victim. What is it that these scammers rely on to hook people, to get us in there and have us believing that this must be legit?
I think what they're relying on is, to a large extent, desperation. I think most of us in South Africa today are looking at, making, if we haven't got a side hustle, at least sort of making a little bit of money on the side, or trying to make our current investments go a bit further. And I think these scammers are relying on that. If you look at the hallmark of these types of schemes, the first thing that they will promote is that you're making exceptionally high returns in a very, very short space of time. And the way these schemes work, obviously, if we could use a Ponzi scheme as an example, is the people that get in at the beginning generally do make money out of it, because as we said, you bring your investment in and your investment then gets used to pay dividends to other people. So it on the face of it, at the beginning of the scheme, it seems as if people are making good money, and the world's a happy place. However, as these schemes get older, the more they battle to get new investors into them, and that's where the thing comes off the rails, because there's no money to provide for returns. And by the time people start realizing that, I'm not getting the returns that I should have got, or what that were promised, or what I got initially, it's already too late. So these scammers are relying, I do believe, on desperation, because I think everybody wants to provide a better life for their families and just sort of try and have a better life for themselves. And that's what these guys rely on.
Yeah. Are there any critical warning signs, perhaps, or tactics that are used by these fraudsters and scammers?
Yeah, look, the first thing is, I think if I could give a tip out there, we've used this saying for many, many years, and it's still relevant now. If something appears too good to be true, it probably is. As I mentioned before, these scammers are offering, very high returns. And, just that should be a warning sign. If you see what return you're getting at a traditional financial institution like a bank or a investment company or so on, that should be your rule of thumb. If you're getting a much higher return over a much shorter time, that's already a warning to consumers. These guys are very good. They'll provide all sorts of bogus stats that they've concocted and put together to show you what returns you're going to get, and there's always a sense of urgency. You need to invest now, you need to get in, because this opportunity is not going to be around forever, and the sooner you get in, the quicker you're going to make your money. So there's always that sense of urgency to it. And a good tip there is, before you invest in any of these schemes, do a bit of research, do a comparison to see what else is out there in the market, and talk to a reputable financial institution. Talk to your bank, or talk to one of the other investment companies out there, and get a sense of the legitimacy of this product that you're being sold.
It's that emotional sentiment that I always hear people who work in fraud prevention spaces say, that a lot of the time these scammers play on, as you say, that sense of emergency. They play on the emotion.
Very true. And what we must understand is, these criminals are professionals at what they're doing. This is their day to day. This is what they do for a living, and they're extremely good at it. So, and they are so convincing that they try and get people to forget the basics. But the one thing that I would advise consumers to do is, if you are confronted with an opportunity like that, just stop and think about it, and take your time to consider it fully and think about it. Because, as I said, these guys are acting on that sense of urgency. SAFPS has recently launched a solution to consumers called YIMA, which essentially translated means just stop and think, and then act. So that's already a major step in trying to prevent people from falling victims, not just to these scams, but any of the other scams that are going on out there, because most of these guys are operating on that sense of urgency.
Absolutely. 061-410-4107. That's our WhatsApp line. Have you or someone you know fallen victim to some kind of a scam? Or have you found yourself recently being approached and lured to get involved into something that seems a little too good to be true, or it's just making the tiny hairs in the back of your neck stand up We'd love to hear from you what kind of schemes are floating around somewhere there in your community, because who knows, you might be helping someone else who might just fall victim for the thing that's making you to pause because you're a little suspicious. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's go to Madupi Makhalemele with the headlines.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, Parliament's Legal Services Unit says that the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. Police have been deployed to Orlando East in Soweto as residents continue their search for a man suspected of raping and strangling a 6-year-old to death. And President Cyril Ramaphosa will this afternoon meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Russia. Details of these and other stories coming up at
2. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Afternoon, Bridget. It was push. And then I was told that the plane has crashed, the second one. They said I must deposit a certain amount to a certain bank. After 2 weeks, I'll go back to them and collect my loan. When I went back to that house, they told me that they don't know about those people who told me that. The last one, a certain man threw a bunch of money in front of me, and he said, let us pick up this money and divide amongst us. And I told him, no, let's go to my place if you want to divide it, not to your place. And then the man said, oh, come on, I'm leaving you.
Well, listen, there'll always be chance takers and people trying to, desperately trying to get you into their scheme. And we'd love to hear from you in 061 410 4107. My camera operator in here said, I should also ask you if you've ever benefited from some kind of pyramid scheme. And you obviously don't have to share your name or your surname. You can just tell us the story anonymously. The tricky part, Roy, though, is that a lot of the times people then, because of these schemes out there, you know, these Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, people then get skeptical to even utilize things that, for instance, our communities are so familiar with, things like stokvels, because there are those who are also taking the opportunity there to defraud people.
Bridget, yes, it is a very sad situation that, we are aware that the stokvels have been around for many, many, many years, and they've been a very effective financial savings solution for many of the consumers out there. And I think the big thing there is to do your homework first. Generally with the stokvels, you'll find that if you look at the return that you're getting, it is a reasonable return. It's not something that's going to make you rich overnight, but it's a slow and a sustainable return as well. And generally the stokvels work over quite a period of time. I think so definitely do your homework, get to understand who the people are behind these things. These scams, a lot of the time, as I said, the promise of quick and easy money is one of the hallmarks, because these criminals want to get in, they want to get out, and they want to make as much as they possibly can as well. One of the other things that you've got to be very careful of is if they say to you there's absolutely no risk in this investment, that already should be a red flag, because it doesn't matter what investment product you're doing or you're using, there is even the slightest little bit of risk in that product. So, again, if they're saying this is completely risk-free, then that should be a question mark that consumers need to be aware of.
We also, Roy, seeing a lot of digital scams as well now these days, right? A lot of people getting a hold of information. We see a lot of RFQ scams. Just on Twitter the other day, someone started a thread. Folks who do a lot of business with government institutions, and so your information is floating around out there. And these RFQ sort of scams look legitimate, right down to the logos and the phone numbers and the most minute of detail.
And it's a term that's been coined out there, social engineering. So these criminals are exceptionally inventive in terms of how they approach people, the channels that they use, and quite frankly, I think a lot of people tend to let their guard down when they're dealing with digital channels. So if you just look at what people share on social media about themselves, and this is one of the places that these criminals get information about individuals, not just through, for example, data breaches and things like that, but a lot of people share their information on social media, which they'd never do if they were interacting with somebody face to face. So what we'd recommend is that consumers just sit back and think, be careful or mindful of what you're sharing on social media, because unfortunately, or digital channels, once it's out there, you're never going to get it back. Just little things, if I could use a very silly example as to how individuals' identity got compromised a little while ago. We had a case of a young lady who just obtained a driver's license, and she was posing with a photograph in front of the vehicle with her driver's license in her hand. What we don't realize is our mobile phone cameras are exceptionally high resolution, and they're taking very good quality photographs. So what was actually possible was that if you zoomed in on that photograph of her holding up her license, you could actually clearly see her identity number, her full names, and all sorts of details like that. And that would be ideal for one of these cyber criminals to get somebody's information. That's just a very simple example. So the information's available out there, and they use that information to target people into believing that they're dealing in legitimate transactions.
That example, but this would be a conversation for another day. I've often thought to myself, it's interesting how cavalier South African institutions and organizations are around soliciting people's personal information. We often ask for way too much information from people, whether they're making applications for something or whatever. In some cases you look at it and you go, but do you really need all of that? But that's a conversation for another day. Our WhatsApp is open, and we're going to go to WhatsApp for some voice notes, and then we're going to come back, and I want to ask you, Roy, when we come back from WhatsApp, around maybe how do we better safeguard the information that we put out there, if at all possible? Because sometimes your information just lands up in an inbox for something that you were applying for or communication, and they asked you for that, and you really are not in control of who gets a hold of that envelope or that email once you've sent it out. 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line.
I just want to ask, there's something that you're seeing quite often on social media now about these Forex bots, where people buy these bots and then they trade Forex for you and all that stuff. That seems to be a big thing at the moment.
Hi, Joe from Durban. It would be great to find out about the necessity and how it works with the POPIA Act. When you enter certain buildings, you need to fill in a register, but on that register, they want your ID number. Similarly, many golf clubs, you want to go hire a cart, you need to fill in your ID number, and other examples. Firstly, is that really necessary? Because those books are visible to all and sundry, whether it's a register, attendance register, entrance book, etc. And really, does it make any difference? And how are those people collecting the data then securing at the attendance register or the attendance book, etc., to preserve your information?
I mean, Joe in Durban, I've got my own way of how I work around that, but I'm not going to share. Let's just say from time to time, my name is Princess Diana in those registration books. But Roy, yes, and I think what Joy speaks of is the sentiment that I was sharing as well, that we share too much data. Too much data is solicited from us that sometimes is not needed. Even in our complexes, these security companies that scan your license disc, we've spoken to the guys at Popeye, and they're like, actually, that's not the information they require. It's too much data that they are extracting from your car license disc.
Yeah, Bridget, that's definitely quite a lengthy conversation around that information, and unfortunately, I think a lot of these places have sort of adopt the attitude, well, if you're not prepared to give it to us, then right of admission is reserved, and we're not going to let you in. But certainly, in terms of Poppy, there are definite obligations on those organisations that are collecting the information to secure it, and there's also a responsibility for them to ensure that their staff understand how to handle that information correctly and securely. Whether that is happening is obviously a debatable issue, but Poppy is certainly there to protect that information as well.
Just a quick one on the Forex bots from our earlier WhatsApp.
Yes, look, those Forex bots, again, it's a tricky one because a lot of them are promising higher than normal returns. The challenge with those is they're also available through various app stores and so on, and they are international solutions. So, for example, if somebody gets caught with one of those, it becomes even more difficult to try and trace the funding and getting the money back and so on. We'd certainly recommend that if that is something that you'd like to enter into, please just do your homework, be very careful, do sufficient research into the supplier that you're going to be dealing with, because unfortunately there are a lot of these unregulated products that are out there that consumers can fall victim to. I'm not saying that all of them are scams, but one's just got to be very, very careful what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Before I release you, Roy, just a recap for folks as to the kind of work that the Southern African Fraud Prevention Services do once you've because I know, if I'm not mistaken, you guys also keep a registry of folks who maybe their IDs were defrauded, just to give a safeguard in case things happen with your ID. Give us some more information, and also who can contact you for help and in what circumstance.
Certainly. Thank you, Bridget. We've got a solution called a protective registration. That's exactly what it's there for. Should somebody be concerned that their ID's been compromised, they might have lost a document, or they feel that their information has been leaked in a data breach, they can come to our website, safps.org.za, and there's a digital process they can follow. It'll take a few minutes on their mobile phone to apply for a protective registration. It's at no cost at all to the consumer.
Yeah.
And essentially what that does is it goes to all our member organizations to say, look, Bridget's identity has been compromised. Please check that you're dealing with Bridget and not a fraudster. The other solution that we launched in May last year is our YIMA offering. And again, we've got a separate website called yima.org.za. And there we share information around scams so that consumers can educate themselves, tips on how not to fall victim to certain scams. And then more importantly, we've got a hotline there. So, for example, if a consumer falls victim to a scam and they need to contact their bank, they can contact that hotline and we will transfer them directly through to their respective bank's fraud areas through an IVR application. And then we also have a solution where if consumers have fallen victim to scams, they'd obviously need to report it to the police, but they can report it via the YIMA website, and we will use that information to help get statistical information on those particular scams.
Wonderful stuff.
And all of those solutions are free of charge to the consumers. There's no cost associated.
Roy Retief, thank you so much for your time today. Head of Operations at the Southern African Fraud Prevention Services, SAFPS for short. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come right back and get into our next conversation.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, having another conversation that moves us now with Kay Ali, founder and director of Pride of Africa Foundation, celebrating 35 years of courage, unity and progress. Johannesburg Pride March is set to celebrate its 35th anniversary this year. That's more than 3 decades now, Kay, of empowerment, advocacy, and of course, celebrating the LGBTQI plus community. Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, and thank you for having me.
It's only a pleasure. Let's quickly reflect back on 35 years because it's been quite the journey since 1990. And in its own way, even Pride March has gone through its own evolutions as an activist body.
100%. I think it started off in the early days as an underground movement, more of a defiance campaign, held in defiance of the apartheid laws that criminalized same-sex relationships. Participants faced the risk of arrest, violence, discrimination, and most of them actually did the first march with brown paper bags over their heads. Post-apartheid era, we moved into a much more increased visibility of Pride. It started gaining more acceptance. The community started coming out more, and the attendance grew. I think when we look at the 21st century, which is where my involvement comes in, and for a number of years, mainstream, Johannesburg Pride became an annual occurrence, attracting thousands of participants, and it's become a multifaceted platform in terms of celebratory activism, advocacy, a voice, and a symbol. If you look at the Pride of Africa logo, it's now become an international symbol and a flag that is representational of the LGBTQIA community in Africa. And that's how we've evolved over the years.
And by way of, some of the positive impact that the organization and similar organizations have had over the last 3 decades, let's touch on that a little.
I think if you look at the overall community achievements, there's been several significant victories and milestones over the 30 years of democracy and inclusivity. There's the legalization of the same-sex marriage in 2006, the recognition of same-sex partnerships. We as South Africa have anti-discriminatory laws. We have the hate speech bill, and the political representation in South Africa is very sensitive, and we've got several, over the 3 decades, we've got several elected officials that are openly identifying as members of the LGBT community. So I think from a country perspective, the young democracy of South Africa has quite a few victories under its belt for the LGBT community, and I see us as a role model for Africa.
Yeah, and even with those, significant victories by way of legislation, we still got some work to do. Johannesburg Pride remains focused on the work that lies ahead.
100%. I think there's always going to be work when you look at the diverse backgrounds of people in terms of race, religion, culture. There's people of color and immigrants. There's always going to be challenges that are faced. There's also still that narrative that it's un-African to be gay. So when you look at, all the policies that we have and all the constitutional rights that we have, there's always going to be a shortfall in terms of implementation. And those are the sensitizations that we need to work through from a South African context perspective. But in Africa, I think we've got a lot more work to do. 33 out of 54 countries in Africa still have anti-LGBT laws, and in some instances, punishable by death. Now, when you look at that, that's significant discrimination and on multifaceted platforms. So they include homophobia, transphobia, racism, xenophobia, and sexism, and tackling that as a community, it brings a certain level of intersectionality into play.
And speaking of those intersections rather, Kay, when we have these conversations, right, we focus a lot on sort of urban metro communities, and we activate a lot in the urban metro spaces. And I think very little conversation is brought to the LGBTQI plus communities within rural communities, for instance.
100%, and you see the suffering that takes place for the LGBT community in rural South Africa. I think that, there's a lot of societal stigma and discrimination based on traditional values and cultural norms in the rural areas. You've also got limited access to resources and services, in general from a rural area perspective. But then when you look at the LGBT context, this can make it even more difficult for individuals that have special, needs access to healthcare, mental health support, or legal assistance, but also social networking. I think there's quite a bit of lack of awareness and understanding that many people still face in the rural areas, and they might not have that deep understanding of LGBT issues or the experiences of LGBT individuals that can lead, to transformation. There's still a very big level of misinformation, of prejudice and discrimination. But also, I think the other most important aspect of rural South Africa is that there's also that element of the economic disadvantage.
Yeah.
So when you look at rural areas, may have a higher rate of poverty, unemployment, which exacerbate the challenges faced by the LGBT community and individuals. The economic hardships just, can make it more difficult and day-to-day living, but also to access essential services and escape harmful situations, because, violence and hate crimes are on the rise, even in the metro the big cities, and for the rural areas, they are at risk of violence and hate crimes that would go undetected in some instances.
Yeah. Kay, we have to wrap it there for this afternoon, but looking forward to the city being painted every single color of the rainbow come Saturday the 26th, with this year's Pride March taking place, and of course starting at West Street and proceeding all the way through into Sandton, where it activates that entire precinct into quite the spectacular party indeed. That was Kay Ali, who's the founder and director of Pride of Africa Foundation. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back on the other side of this.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
What a day. Time for that face mask. Leave the face mask on for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? That's not even enough time for it to work. I can't even send an email in 2 minutes or make a cup of coffee.
With Santam, 2 minutes is enough to insure your car online. When you're fully protected with the expert insurer, you're free to live in the moment, not in the worry. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Did you know the October Transport Month campaign commenced on the 1st of October 2024, and this year marks an important milestone in the calendar of the National Department and Provincial Departments of Transport as they celebrate 19 years of the annual October Transport Month campaign. The OTM highlights the extent to which the department, provincial departments of transport and entities of transport are responding to the priorities of the 7th administration, which include developing infrastructure to grow an inclusive and sustainable economy, create jobs and improve standards of living while improving overall service delivery efficacies. Doing more together, building better infrastructure and delivering efficient service through collaboration. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, so our lines are open on 061-410-4107. That's our WhatsApp line. And 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. We were having a conversation earlier around scams and schemes that you've come across that perhaps you or your friends and family have been victims of. And then we threw a spanner in the works because my operator was saying, well, you know, some people have benefited from these scams and schemes. And if you've been a person who's benefited. I know a couple of years ago, there was that Triple M scheme that was making the rounds. I was at another radio station then, and the founder of the scheme actually came onto the breakfast show. Had a whole conversation around, what they were getting up to. And a lot of people, made a lot of serious money from it. I don't know what happened to the said individual. It was alleged by folks that it was a scheme of sorts, but I don't know whatever happened to the founder of the alleged scheme. I just know that when they came to the station, they came in a rather swanky, gold-plated, expensive, rare luxury car. So they certainly made a lot of money from all of you. But I wonder if you made money from that. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line.
Good afternoon, my Bridget Masinga. Madam, I just want to weigh in on today's topic about scams and all. Madam, I would say because like a lot of times I'll be getting these messages like with my ID on it, and sometimes my name and sometimes my title. I don't even bother anymore because like I understand that sometimes we get like fraudulent posts of job vacancies, you know what I mean, online, you know what I mean, as we seeking jobs, as we doing the job hunting thing. And then these people, like, they take the advantage, you know what I mean? So they create these fraudulent vacancies requiring us to put in or to fill in all the details about ourselves, personal details, our IDs, date of birth, and like everything, you know what I mean? So, like, I was kind of wondering, how do these people get my ID? How would they? But then the thought just suddenly came up, like to say, no, don't even worry about it, like these are the things that they get from what you applied for, thinking that it's a job post or something. Thank you very much, madam.
Hello, Bridget and your guest. This is Tepiso. I think even with the stock files, it's risky because I remember in my case, all of us were just colleagues, contributing every month, and it was a huge amount of money that each one of us are contributing, and I was the second last. We were in total
red light
10,
camera reported ahead.
and when
Which is
it was my
side,
turn to get my money, it was a bit of a hassle, and it was just ugly. So I guess, because there's no regulations, out there, people think that they can get away with murder. When they don't pay you, you're going to take them probably maybe to the small claims court, and that process as well is just tedious. So I guess all of them, it's just a scam in a subtle way as well with stock files.
Yeah, there's a lot of scams out there. Hey, I mean, not Rams, the courier company, because I know it's not coming from them, but someone purporting to be them is still waiting for me to go and pay them 120 something rands in order to release my package that is urgently waiting for me, Edward. It's been waiting for 6 months now. And every other day I get that message to say, click here so that you can release your package. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't have a package coming from them, right? So be quite vigilant, because even in the littlest things, imagine if 1 million people are clicking through that link and paying 120 something rand in one day, how much money that they are making on the other side of that, right? So be very vigilant around those schemes. 2 o'clock is gone. Madupi is coming through with the news.
Good afternoon. In the top stories this hour, Parliament is advised against discussing the Bella Act and Ramaphosa to meet Putin in Russia. A very good afternoon. Parliament's Legal Services Unit says the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. President Cyril Ramaphosa had signed the Bella Bill into law, but suspended certain sections related to language and admission policies for 3 months to allow further consultations. The Basic Education Portfolio Committee in Parliament was set to discuss the 2 relevant clauses further, but has decided not to proceed following legal advice. Committee Chairperson Joy Maimela.
The legal team advised us that in terms of the law, the President has not referred the Act back to Parliament. So it will be something else for Parliament to engage on a matter that they've concluded on, because Parliament's work is done in terms of the Act. The Parliament had ascended the Act for the President's signature, for the President's consideration and signature. As a result, they believed that it would not be prudent for us to discuss the issue. As a result, we've removed the item from the agenda, and that was legal advice, and we heeded to that advice.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwagube says about 400 matriculants in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape are unable to sit for their exams on the second day due to inclement weather in the area. She says because of storms in parts of Gqeberha, a decision was taken to halt the writing of today's paper by those affected.
We usually have the SANDF also on standby in certain situations, whether it is to airlift learners to the exam venues, maybe due to protest action. But a decision was made this time because, regardless of the fact that they would have been able to be transported to the schools, but because of the storm damage to the power lines, they will not be able to write the exam in a fair manner today in Gqeberha. This is affecting about 400 learners.
Police have urged residents of Orlando East in Soweto to give them space to search for a suspect who allegedly raped and murdered a 6-year-old child. Residents say the child's body was found inside the suspect's shack. Locals have been going from house to house searching for the suspect, a foreign national who is well known to the community. Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo says investigations suggest that the victim was raped before being murdered.
But the search is continuing. We are appealing to the community that please let them give us a chance. We know that they are very angry. We know that this is the incident that has touched all the residents in this area. But please let them give us a chance so that we can continue looking for the suspect. We have assembled a seasoned team of detectives who are all out looking for the suspect. We believe that it's just a matter of time before the arrest.
Eskom has urged its prepaid electricity customers to recode their meters before the 24th of next month. The utility says after this deadline, meters will no longer accept electricity tokens unless they are updated to the new system. Spokesperson Daphne Mukwena explains what customers need to do to upgrade their meters.
When a customer goes and recharge or buys a token of electricity, what they will get in addition is two 20-digit codes, where these 20-digit codes, they will just upload them on their meters, and the meters will then be upgraded. Once they have uploaded these 20-digit numbers, then they can upload the recharge token that they have bought as well. And as I said, that then their meters then will be updated and they won't suffer any consequences.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa will this afternoon meet his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Ramaphosa is in Kazan to attend the 16th BRICS gathering after a successful meeting in South Africa last year. This is the first meeting after the expansion of this bloc. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
President Ramaphosa will commence his program this afternoon, the 22nd of October, with a bilateral meeting with President Vladimir Putin of the Russian Federation. The meeting will present an opportunity for the President to communicate his priorities for the 7th administration, highlight the strategic importance of the Russian Federation to South Africa, and to exchange views with the host president on issues of mutual interest.
The top story at 2, Parliament's Legal Services Unit says the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. For SAFM News, Ke Mudupi Makhalemele, The Full Circle continues.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
But let's talk motorsport now, and we're joined on the line, a man we've had on the show before. So firstly, hearty congratulations. You are now a world champion, effectively, behind your name, having achieved this great success in Morocco last week. Just tell us a little bit about it and just how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly still doesn't feel real when you say that I'm a world champion, but no, lifelong dream obviously achieved, and kind of, we just put our head down this year. That was the goal, to be the Rally 2 world champion in rally road racing, and we made it come true last week. I was the chaser coming into the race. I was 8 points down, but honestly my week went perfect, and all the stars aligned for me.
Top Sport on SAFM.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
See the nation through the people's eyes. See tears that flow like rivers from the skies. And where it seems there are only borderlines, where others turn inside, you shall rise. You shall rise. There's disaster in your past, boundaries in your path. What do you desire when lifts you higher? You don't have to be extraordinary, just forgiving those who never heard your cries. You shall rise. You shall rise and look toward the skies. Where others fail, you'll prevail in time. You shall rise. Living.
That was Metafix with Living in Dafu. Every time you hear the song, you must know that one of my producers was in her Metafix element. She absolutely loves the song. Shifting focus now, because we are slowly winding down on Cancer Awareness Month, and we thought we'd have a conversation around a groundbreaking study that was led by researchers at Wits University. And it's unveiled crucial genetic risk factors for prostate cancer around, or amongst African men, should I say. We've got Dr. Craig Mamitele joining us, who is a urologist now. How are you doing, Doc? We're still connecting with the doctor, and once we have that connection, we'll definitely bring the doctor through. So it's a groundbreaking study that was led by the researchers at Wits University, and it's unveiled crucial genetic risk factors for prostate cancer amongst African men. And it's marking the largest genomites, I think I'm pronouncing that right, research of its kind on the continent. And we're also going to be expanding our conversation to speak on all things prostate cancer. So if you do have a point of question or clarity that you need information on, you know, on Tuesdays we always invite you to be a part of these important medical conversations. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, Ukovela Panda. SABC2.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
A quick production meeting offline, and just been informed that the representative from the university is not available to engage on the findings of the study today. So we'll bank that element of the conversation for a later date. And once we can secure in the diary and the calendar, the Wits research team will have them on the show to unpack that element. But Dr. Craig Mamitela, who is a urologist, can very much talk to us around, prostate cancer, and we'll find out more about just some of the more common risk factors in as far as prostate cancer is concerned, as well as some of the other points that should be of concern and the advancements around treatment of prostate cancer. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Craig. How are you doing today?
Good day, and good afternoon to your listeners.
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's get into it. Prostate cancer is very much a prevalent condition, from what I understand, in affecting men and originating from the prostate gland. But please give us more depth in as far as, what is prostate cancer, I guess, and maybe even what are the risk factors that are at play, the most common risk factors that are at play?
Right. So just to understand, the prostate is a gland which is found in males. Mm-hmm. Females, unfortunately, they don't have it. It sits just below the bladder, just before the urethra. Urethra is a pipe which is in the penis. So when men pass urine, it goes through the prostate and then to the urethra in the penis for urine to go out. So what happens is naturally when we get old as men, that prostate starts enlarging even more. And then when you're young, because it's small, there's no resistance when you pee. That's why young boys, when they pee, the urine can even jump the wall. And then the older we get, it starts slowing down. It gets even difficult to even point to the toilet as we get older and older. So that's why where there's elderly people, you'll always be cleaning the toilet because now there's resistance. We start pushing as we get old.
Okay.
Besides that aging, you find that some of the cells, as we get old, they start growing uncontrollably, and then they have capability of moving from where they've originated and invade other parts of the body. That's when we call it metastasis. So if that's how cancer works. So it's something which grows uncontrollably, and it has capability of moving out of the prostate and going to another organ and grow there and end up destroying that organ. In a nutshell, that's what prostate cancer is.
Yeah. Sorry, Doc, continue.
So if you look at the risk factors, the research has been ongoing. We're discovering more and more and more. If you look at in Africa and mainly the sub-Saharan South Africa, what we've noticed is that being a black man, it puts you at a higher risk of having prostate cancer and mainly the aggressive cancer. So that means the cancer that can spread and end up killing you. In the olden days, we used to see it mostly in white patients, but it will come later in life. In black patients, we see it at a younger age, meaning we're starting to diagnose prostate cancer at the age around 40s and 50s.
Wow.
So we're seeing that.
Yeah.
There are some genes which we've linked with prostate cancer that makes black patients to be more at the risk of dying of prostate cancer. One is the same genes as the breast cancer, the BRCA gene, and that we normally see in breast cancer. So as a risk factor, if your parents or one of your siblings has breast or prostate cancer, you are at the higher risk of developing prostate cancer in that family. Although it still behaves like a breast cancer, it can be sporadic, meaning you can be the only one in that generational line in your family. But about 10 to 15% it can go, you can inherit it, where you find that there is a link between certain generations from your parents or your grandparents as well.
I'm interested, Doc, as to, just exploring that a little bit more. And I know we'll also touch on the WITS research with the other researchers later on during the course of the month. But maybe from your medical expertise, that sort of link to prostate cancer with black males, and you say that black males are at higher risk for the more aggressive prostate cancer and at a younger age. Has there been any, or what has the research and the studies said, in urology around why is that so?
So far as I know, we are still looking for a particular genetic predisposition to us getting the more aggressive cancer compared to other races. There's a lot of research which they were doing. I think I'm from the University of Pretoria, so Prof. Bowman and others, they were still trying to get that link with the core study. They're also doing studies with Australia as well. I just heard now from your introduction that there's some at the VETS, our colleagues at VETS, if they found something. I haven't seen that study yet, so it's going to be difficult. But we have genes which have been associated with a more aggressive cancer in black patients mostly.
And you say that you're now seeing black men being diagnosed with prostate cancer younger at the age of 40, around the age of 40. So at what ages should South African men start screening for prostate cancer? And what are those screening methods?
All right, so we need to look at the risk factors. So patients who are at higher risk, you can even check at a slightly lower age, if your parent or your father and your grandmother in the same generational line, they've had cancer, it may be prudent for you to check even at a slightly younger age of more than 35. But generally, after the age of 40, that's what we recommend, that you start checking for prostate cancer. And then if everything, you don't have a risk in the family, and your blood test, we use a blood test called PSA, and it's very low, then you can come every second year. But if in your family there's someone who has prostate cancer or breast cancer, would recommend that you are seen annually and at least a blood test on an annual basis.
And by way of, so it is a blood test, as you say, that you use. And can we find out, does prostate cancer typically have any kind of symptoms, early warning symptoms and signs that one should be on the lookout for?
All right. So the problem about prostate cancer, it usually develops in the periphery of the prostate.
Okay.
Usually it doesn't cause any symptoms. The symptoms that we get is the ones with the normal enlargement of the prostate with age. So most of the patients after the age of 40, if you ask them, they will tell you that the urine is not like the way it was before. But the problem is that those symptoms are gradual, so they think that it's normal to them. So most of the time they don't complain, unless the prostate is too big. And then there's those subset of patients that present with already metastatic disease where cancer has spread, just gone to the bones and in dire pain now and then. In very few patients, they may have blood in the urine or hematospermia or blood in the semen when they ejaculate. But most of the time, blood in the semen, usually we don't find it in the course of that. But it may be a presenting sign. But most of the time, it will be just general urinary symptoms with age.
Yeah. Is there any, and you talk about a enlarged prostate, for instance, I don't know, because male anatomy is not my forte. I wonder, is there any sort of visible physical sign that you can see, like how a woman's, could feel a lump in her breast, for instance, and you would gradually feel it growing? Is there any similar kind of visible sign that one can touch, feel, see?
Yeah, usually you can examine yourself the prostate.
Okay.
So in most of the time, if we think you're at the risk, we'll do what we call a rectal exam. We put a finger at the back, and then we feel your prostate. It's supposed to be soft and rubbery, like when you put the finger. It's just anterior when we put the finger. If it starts getting hard and nodular, like we feel like there's a bone in it, then we start suspecting that there might be cancer. But we always correlate with a blood test. In some instances, you find that it's only the blood test which is going up. We may do what we call an MRI, so that it helps us to see if there's a particular area in the prostate which looks suspicious. And then for us to confirm, we'll book you for a biopsy. And then we target the area which is suspicious. Sometimes we don't find anything on MRI or any area which is suspicious. We do what we call random biopsies, where we just randomly take samples of the prostate.
Okay.
In some instances, we do pick up cancer. So MRI does help us as well in making a diagnosis and a PSA. The only problem with the MRI, it's expensive, but currently the medical aid does cover it. The only problem is in the government sector, because doing an MRI to everyone in the population, when you start suspecting them of cancer, it will be unaffordable economically.
Yeah. I want to jump to WhatsApp quickly for questions. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line.
Good afternoon, Doctor. I just want to find out, and my name is Lihlohonono from Subuke. In March this year, I went for blood test to check for prostate, and the results came, and it was 5.8, and I was told that the normal is 4.0, and the doctor told me to wait for 6 months. That would be in September. Then I went back in September, and the test was done again, and then it came back at 5.2. Then the doctor said, no, it's not that much serious. So I just want to check the numbers from 5.8 to 5.2, whether is it serious or not. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yes, if I just want to find out from your guest there, some men you find one testicle is very, very small, the other very, very big. Is that the prostate or is another disorder there? Norman from Brixton.
All right, and then we also have a message here, Doc, saying, my GP said I should wait for the test after 45 years, having asked him when I was 40. So I will only go next year, according to him, or does the doctor insist on going as in yesterday? And you can give us your take on these three. And by way of disclaimer, by the way, the good doctor, Dr. Craig, is not making any diagnoses here today. He's just sharing some information and trying to help you get better information from your respective medical practitioner. Doc, if you can enlighten a little.
All right. So with the first patient, the one who had a PSA of 5.8 and 5.2, right, so we correlate the PSA with the size of the prostate, the symptoms, whether there was any infection or enlargement of the prostate. That helps us because the more your prostate is big, the more it's going to produce more. And then the other thing which is important is if he has done his early PSA around 40s, and then we'll have a baseline around there. The 4 that we use as normal, we generally use it in few instances. For an example, when a patient comes in for the first time, there's a concept where we call it an age-related PSA. For an example, if a patient is below 40, we don't expect your PSA to be above 2. It goes up by 1 every 10 years. And then when you're 60, it shouldn't be above 3. When you're 60, it shouldn't be above 4. That's where it comes from. But what we use, when you're around 40, do your baseline. And then we're going to use that baseline as a reference point in monitoring how your PSA behaves.
Got you.
So to answer that other question of that other guy,
I just want us to pause there for a second, Doc. We'll come back and we'll wrap it up on the other side of the news, where you can just quickly answer the other 2 queries. For now, though, let's just jump to Madupi quick, and then we'll come right back.
All right.
My dear Sister Bridget, and good afternoon. In your headlines at 2:30, the Auditor General's Office says over the last 5 financial years, government departments have incurred fruitless and wasteful expenditure of more than 1.4 billion rand. Parliament's Legal Services Unit says the institution is prohibited from again deliberating on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, and a yellow level 4 warning for the severe thunderstorms that could lead to flooding and damage to infrastructure has been issued for parts of KZN this afternoon. And those are your headlines. A full news update, 3 o'clock.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are wrapping up our conversation with Dr. Craig Mametela, who is a urologist. Thank you for your indulgence, Doc. Okay, let's quickly just address those other 2 inquiries.
One was whether you should do a PSA around the age of 40 or 45. I think in the olden days, the older guidelines is depending on which guidelines we follow. But our old urology guidelines, we used to say 45, but the picture has changed with what we're seeing currently. Now we recommend that from the age of 40, you do a PSA as a baseline. If we find your PSA around 40 above 2, we start getting worried. We monitor you closely. And then if there's problems, you may need to be referred to a urologist so that they can investigate further with an MRI. You may need a biopsy to be done. But if you are a higher risk, 40 or slightly lesser, if your parents they have prostate cancer or breast cancer.
Okay.
And then the other patient was the one who said one of his testes reduced in size and things like that. It depends on how it happened, whether it happened as a child. There are some patients who they have what we call a mistorsion as when they're still young. It's when a testis turns and then it blocks its blood flow. And then it dies, and then with time it just vanishes away. You end up with just a small size testis. Others, it's because of recurrent infections that they get, and then testes end up being severely damaged. So I would suggest for that person that it needs to be checked. And if it's the other testes which were normal in size, the other one is enlarging, we also need to check that one to make sure that is it the testis or is it fluid around the testis, or there's a hernia, other things going to the scrotum.
Yeah.
So a proper assessment for that patient is needed.
You know, Doc, as we speak, because we fast run out of time, but as you're talking sort of around the testes as well, it got me thinking that we haven't had a male-focused Medical Tuesday in a while. So I will offline you with my producers and maybe try and carve out some time at some point in your calendar before the year ends, where we can just take general urology questions, that some of our listeners might have, and in order to just arm them with some information. For now, though, we'll leave it there for today. We appreciate the time with you. That was Dr. Craig Mametele, who is a urologist. It's time to get into our children's programming, so we're going to go straight into Kids Corner, and then we'll come back on the other side of this with Brenda Mdambo.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Myths versus facts. I'm too young to get breast cancer. Many women under age 40 are diagnosed with breast cancer. Men can't get breast cancer. 1 in 922 men have a lifetime risk of breast cancer. I have never had children and can therefore not get breast cancer. Women who haven't had children or only had them after 30 have an increased risk of breast cancer. Breast Cancer Awareness Month on SAFM.
74 million rand in total in the estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots. So could be your ticket to the big millions this Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 15 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 59 million rand today. You can buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or by simply dialing *120 *7529 hash for your USSD. Panda Pusher Play, and players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello, my name is King David. I'm very excited to speak here. I learn in Parktown Public School 5C. The bag that was chosen for me was chosen by my father. He gave it to me last year as a surprise in my birthday, which is 2nd of January. So my bag is heavy and it could be bad for me because it always hurts my shoulders and prevents me from running as fast as I used to. The thing that makes my school bag hurt me is how heavy it is, because I put many books inside it. So the books I put in my bag, not all of them are needed in the day. The reason I bring all of them to school is just in case, isn't it? I put a lot of homework books in my bag just in case one runs out or one breaks, so that I can be writing notes if I forget my book at home. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Masisu. My surname is Ramitari. I'm 11 years old and I'm in grade 5. My school bag was chosen by my mother, and I love it very much because it's very comfortable and can be used for a lot of uses since it's big and it has a lot of places to place my books. At first it was heavy, but I soon got used to it and it became light, and I really love my bag. Plus, it will be able to store a lot of things. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leticia Kalenga. I'm in grade 5. I'm 10 years old. Turning 11 soon. The bag that I carried to school was chosen for me by my father, and I do like it. It's very heavy because I put a lot of books in it. Well, not all of my books are needed in a day, but I carry all of my books so that you never know. Our teachers could change the timetable. So my mom says I should leave them at home, but then I just bring them. Because if I forget one book at home, that's trouble for me. So all my books, my bag is very heavy. It's very heavy. I do think it's bad for me because, well, I do have a back problem and it's very heavy. So it sometimes hurts my back. So that's why I always carry it with my arm. Yeah, that's why. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Karen. My surname is Kope. My bag was chosen by my mother and my father as well. I also liked it. It looks beautiful. My bag is heavy because I carry a lot of books for school, so I don't leave any pocket in class. Yes, ma'am, I know that heavy bags can be painful on me, but I'm used to it now. That's why I want to walk with a heavy bag. To reduce the load on my bag, I could leave some books at school. When ma'am wants them, I'll just take that subject of the book and then put it in class on the shelf. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Yolanda Mzobe. I am 11 years old. The school bag I carried to school was chosen by me. And it is very heavy because I carry all of the books because I don't want to get in trouble at school by leaving some of my books at home. I know that carrying a heavy bag can be bad for me because it might hurt me at the back. So I sometimes change positions, put it in the bag, hold it by my hand, put it at the front. I sometimes take them off, exercise to get more strength to carry them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel. My surname is Taima, and I'm 10 years old, turning 11 this year, and I love being in Parktown Public School. So the bag I carry to school is chosen by my mom. I do like it, but not that much. And my bag is heavy. My school bag is heavy because I put a lot of books, and sometimes it hurts my shoulders. I know that having a full school bag is bad because sometimes it can hurt your hand and sometimes it can also hurt your back. But sometimes I put the other books in another bag so that they can all fit. Thank you.
Afternoon guys, my name is Siawonga Masola. I'm in Parktown and I'm in grade 5A. The bag I carried to school was chosen by my dad as a late birthday gift since he did not have enough money to buy me a new bag on my birthday. And I really like it. It really isn't heavy, but it is sometimes when I put too much books. Because sometimes the teachers will want you to bring all the books, and in other periods they'll change the subject so that they could finish. To make sure that my heavy bag doesn't hurt me, sometimes I leave my books at school since we won't be doing any homework activities or any projects. So I leave them at school, then I'll just go with my file and it's less heavy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Basic. My surname is Mate. And the bag I carried to school was chosen by my mother. And yes, I like the bag because it doesn't get dirty fast and it is strong. What I do
When my bag is heavy, I put the books. I carry the books that I only need. Thank you.
Hello friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important, your school bag. You probably take it with you every day to class and the playground. But did you know that how you pack your bag and its weight can impact on your health? Let's dive into why it's important to keep your bag organized and light. Carrying a heavy bag can really strain your body. If it's too heavy, it might hurt your back, shoulders and neck. Over time, this can make you feel worn out and even affect your growth. That's why it's important to keep your bag as light as possible to stay healthy and strong. So, how can you lighten your load? Only bring what you truly need for the day. Avoid packing extra books, toys, or items you won't use at school. If your school allows it, you can also store some things in your locker or desk. And don't forget to clean your bag regularly to get rid of things you no longer need. A well-organized bag is easier to carry and helps you find your stuff quickly. Use the different pockets to keep your pencils, notebooks, and lunch separate. Always place the heaviest items like textbooks at the back of the bag, close to your body. This way, the weight is balanced, making it feel lighter. So remember, keeping your school bag light and organized is super important for your health. By following these easy tips, you can prevent back pain and stay active. Organize your bag every day and only take what you need. It's a small change that can lead to a big difference.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha.
So here's a reminder from Eskom. They've made it easier for you to recode your meter. Customers must recode their Eskom meters by 24 of November 2024. All Eskom customers are reminded to recode their prepaid meters before the 24th of November. If your meter is not recoded, it will not accept legally bought prepaid electricity tokens. Eskom has made this process very easy for you. They have pre-coded all meters, and they are ready for you to recode your meter yourself. To do this, simply go to any Eskom-approved electricity outlet and buy an electricity credit token. And their teams are standing by to help.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Wrapping up on a quite the vibrant note now, a positive note. We are catching up with SAMA nominee, artist and writer, singer-songwriter, Brenda Mdambo. She's nominated in 3 categories at the 30th Annual South African Music Awards. Best African Adult Contemporary Album, Best Engineered Album, and Female Artist of the Year. And this, I'm told, marks your first nomination in this category. How is that so? How are you doing, Brenda? You good?
Hi, Bridget. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Wait, I have to be reading this incorrectly.
Which one?
That it marks your first nomination in the category of Female Artist of the Year?
Yes, it marks the first actually for the SAMA Awards. I have not been nominated as the best female ever since.
Really?
Yeah, ever since the SAMAs, I've never been. It's my very first.
How is that possible?
I only got nomination when I was starting out as a best newcomer. And this time around, I got 3 nominations, which is something really, really, really exciting and amazing, and I'm so grateful for.
It really is. Listen, sorry, my jaw is still on the floor. But it really is exciting stuff. 3 incredible categories for the album Sane. And let's talk about when one is nominated for Best African Adult Contemporary Album, Best Engineered Album, and Female Artist of the Year. I mean, is there one award that you weight more than the other categories, or they all equally as significant and important for you?
They are all very much important to me especially because of how they are put. First of all, Best Engineered, it means that the work that we've done is incredibly well put, and there's so much work that was put in it. And when we talk about the Best Adult Contemporary Album, it means that also in the space that I occupy, I'm considered to be the best. And if you check on the Best Female, I'm amongst the young ones, the young stars, the Tylers, like Loandlu Nkulu, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And to think that after 11 years and more than 11 years in this industry, I can still be, in the room amongst the young stars and amongst the recent and amongst. So it means that you have done something right a little bit.
You've done more than something right a little bit, Brendan Tambo. Absolutely more. Let's talk about also just the journey, right? The journey of creating this album in particular, because we haven't spoken since this album. Let's reflect on that and the process and how that was for you, the creative process of it, the getting ready to do it, because I'm also always very interested in what comes first when an artist decides that they now want to go into studio, to start working on the next album. What is that first source of inspiration?
For me, this album came from brokenness. I was so broken. That's why when I got these nominations, I really cried a lot, because I was like, from the brokenness, something great can come out of that. I lost my mother. I've been struggling with mental illness, and then it's not sunny, actually, it's sane. From sanity. From sanity. So I was looking, for healing. I've been on that urge to heal myself and be better, fight mental health and grieve, and I've been very much open about it. So this album came from such broken pieces, and it gets to show that from the broken pieces you can create a masterpiece. So that's where the album comes from, and from that I was like, music heals me. Music is something that I really find refuge in, and it has done that, and just to be nominated means everything to me.
Absolutely. We just take liberties as a team now. I think and our apologies, when we talk to African creatives, our instinct is to naturally jump to the vernacular of the word.
I know. No, don't worry about it. I know everyone is calling it Sane. And I take it sometimes. Okay, Sunny.
No. You must correct us. It will be part of the history of the album one day when, when we reflect back on your journey in 20, 30 years' time. In terms of your creative process, and obviously when one is sort of using a project as something more cathartic, from what I'm understanding. There's a lot of the personal, there's a lot of the emotional introspection, and there's a lot of the reaching into the darkness to extract those raw emotions again. And I wonder, when you go into studio with sort of, do you go into studio with that intention to say that this is going to be my outpouring, this is going to be my healing? Or do you go into the studio saying, I have something to say now because I've lived all the textures of life over X period of time, and then you let the journey sort of direct you from that first song as to how the project is going to unfold?
You know, when I go in studio, I have no idea how the project is going to unfold, but I have the sincerity of how I want everything to come out. So in terms of the messaging, when I'm writing, I'm intentional. I'm writing my feelings. I'm writing what I'm feeling, you know. Everything is real in terms of that. I was shooting like some kind of documentary when I was recording this album. There are times where I'm really weeping, I'm crying because I'm going through what I'm going through, and I need this to come out the way that I feel it. So it differs also. There are songs where I write first as my way of just journaling, and there are songs that come as a way of a melody that I get from God and I don't know, my ancestors, just as a healing to say, here's the melody. And then I get that melody. But I really went in with this one without saying, I want to create this and that. I just wanted to pour my heart out and say, and say how I feel and how I was feeling at that time. And I did that with this album, and then we that's how we created Same.
Have you ever co-written with anybody, or do you invite other writers to come as you sort of string the lyrics together, to come and share their nuggets or their perspective on the work that you're doing at the time?
Yes, I have. I met a guy in New York. His name is Mdu. And Mdu was able to narrate how I was feeling with anxiety. I spoke to him. I said, this is how I'm feeling. I need a song. And I know that I'm unable to express exactly what I'm feeling. Are you able to do that for me? And he was like so much willing to say, yeah. We got into a chat. I was just explaining like a therapist to say, this is how I'm feeling. This is where I am. It feels dark. I can't see. And then I was able to interpret that on a song. And the song is on the album called Khululeka. It's a beautiful, beautiful song.
And I think you and I spoke either beginning of this year or late last year at some point, and you shared some of the struggles that you've had dealing with mental health, particularly anxiety. And I found it so just incredibly brave of you that you shared there's been moments where, ahead of the show, taking to a stage where you were hit with sort of an episode of angst, and you've gotten the tools to be able to get on and deliver a performance whilst still being in the moment of what was going on with you mentally and emotionally.
I don't know. I have no words to actually say how that happened, but I believe that you take one foot forward and the rest follows, and you show up. I always preach showing up. We have to teach ourselves that concept of showing up. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to do it. Like I've had episodes where I don't know how I'm going to do it because my medication is no longer working because of how intense my anxiety is. I was diagnosed with chronic anxiety. But I'm able to just show up. Once I show up, the voice comes out. My body, is straight up. And I perform, and I'm able to heal other souls while I'm healing myself. And I think that can only be God who can do that. And my job is to just do what I'm called to do and do it from the bottom of my heart and be sincere in doing it. And I'm not hiding anymore that I'm struggling, with mental health. And I know it comes with so much shame, but it's what it is, and we need to talk about it openly because I know I'm not the only one who's suffering.
Absolutely, and I think therein lies the strength. Therein lies the strength is your ability to be so vulnerable, and particularly to so many of your fans who root for you, who love you, who support you, who maybe themselves are struggling with things that they can't articulate, and just being able to now be taken into your journey at your level of comfort, for you to consistently tell them and remind them that we're all just human beings, and we have days where we struggle with things that we can name and things that we can't name, and that sitting in the darkness of your shame is not your cross to bear. It's not your burden to bear.
No. And this makes me so emotional because I feel like I've been carried by people, and I said that with a heavy heart, that people have carried me. I've been carried by people because I've been honest, and I feel like a lot of people then can relate to me as a human being, not as some superhero who doesn't feel, I've been carried by people. And my journey has been carried by people. It's the people who have created like that great image that you see sometimes, and you admire the strength. Sometimes I don't have that strength. I just get the strength from the people that support me. I get strength from people that I share their stories with me and say, I'm also struggling, Brenda. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for showing us that you are human and that we all struggle with something in our lives. It's a matter of identifying how you can navigate through that pain and bring upon your purpose of why you were then created. Because I feel like with each and every pain that I've felt, there's something great that has come out of it.
Absolutely. Brenda Mtambo, thank you so much for taking the time. We wish you the very best of luck at the upcoming 30th South African Music Awards. Brenda Mtambo is nominated in Best African Adult Contemporary Album, Best Engineered Album, and Female Artist of the Year.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
Well, did you know that the National Department of Transport has allocated 7.7 billion rand in the form of bus subsidies for the 2024-25 financial year, which is a 4.5% increase from the previous financial year. And since the inception of the taxi recapitalization program, 83,712 old taxi vehicles have been scrapped and 5.9 billion rand paid to taxi operators. The National Learner Transport program carries 707,000 learners and provides transport to learners to access schools. National Bicycle Program Shova Kalula has distributed bicycles to over 122,000 learners since its inception in 2001 as part of the National Learner Transport Policy. In the current MTSF period, the department has distributed 32,000 bicycles, doing more together, building better infrastructure and delivering efficient service through collaboration. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport. That is how we say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. The National Pulse with Ashraf Gada is coming up. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.